Hello lovely people. Hi, welcome to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Jessica. Nice to meet you new people. By the way, my analytics show me that over half of the people who regularly watch this channel aren't subscribers. So take a moment right now, just go on, scroll right down there and hit the subscribe button. The bigger the channel, the better quality the videos I can produce. This week's been a little bit of a tough one for me because I've been struggling with some migraines, so I do apologise if the video ends up being filmed in some parts. I may just change clothes occasionally. Maybe I'll keep the same outfit and you'll just have to guess where the differences are. I was recently a guest on the Sci Guys podcast, which you can find a link to in the description down below, talking about Montessori parenting, which is the style of parenting that my wife and I do with our lovely little toddler Rupert. And one of the things that we mentioned in that podcast that people really seemed interested in is positive discipline. Positive discipline. What is this? Within Montessori and respectful parenting, positive parenting, gentle parenting, lots of people tend to ask a lot of the time, well, okay, but what do you do when they're naughty? Okay, shelve the question of naughty. We'll get into that in a minute. Discipline, behavior, punishment. How does it work if your parenting style is always positive or always gentle? Well, here's a video with the answer. At the top, we've definitely got to start off and say that every single family is unique and different. There's no one size fits all when it comes to parenting. So our family is two mums, Jessica, it's me, Claudia, my wife, and Rupert, who is 28 months old. And they hit 2 and you're like, he's 2 and a bit. He's not 2.5 yet. Yeah, somewhere there. Before we even started actively trying to have a child, we were obviously actively trying to have a child for the last 9 years of being together. Weirdly though, didn't work. But before even conceiving Rupert, we did think a lot about what our parenting style was going to be. We had a lot of discussions about it. It's something that we were very conscious about going into having him. We didn't sort of stumble upon Montessori or positive parenting as a kind of like, oh, this just seems to be what we're doing anyway. We instead took the frameworks and picked the parts that we really like from it and built around that. I think it's really helpful to have something that you can already find answers with. That's a really good thing about Montessori for us, is we can say, oh, what is the Montessori answer to this issue that we are having with a sleep regression? And then you look it up. And that might come from Maria Montessori's original writings, or it might be from more modern sort of scholars of her work today, or even from sort of parenting experts who base their style in her work. And you can kind of say, oh yeah, no, that feels in my core like what I want to do. I just hadn't had the idea, like, yes, brilliant, thanks. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, good. Or you can look at it and say, I don't feel that fits. I don't feel that aligns directly with me necessarily. I mean, Maria Montessori was writing in a time before we had like most modern things to do with children. So there are some things you have to adapt. It's not like she wrote about, when does Maria Montessori say just turn your car seat around? Weirdly enough, she doesn't have anything to say about that. The answer is my son is floppy and I'm not chancing that one. Rupert from the very start has always been a very calm, he is a very jolly little chap. He's very lovely to be around. He's very creative little soul. He's quite charming. He's very polite. Last night, Claude put dinner down on the table and completely unprompted, Rupert went, "Thank you so much for cooking us dinner, Mummy." Yes, he likes to do things like that. If you do things for him, he says thank you quite a lot in the sweetest way. And he has always been very gentle himself. Can I say for sure whether that is because we have always done a very gentle, respectful style of parenting with him, or can I say that he has responded well to that parenting because that's in his nature? Come back when we have more children is my response to that one, I suppose. And I also can see that his school friends, he goes to a Montessori school, are equally calm, polite, sweet. So I absolutely cannot take credit for that. So for those of you who don't know, Rupert has 2 mums, and one of them, me, is disabled. I have 2 genetic conditions, one which affects my nerves and one which affects my connective tissue. So that leads to a variety of things, including chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and can mean that bits of me sort of stop working for a while. And it also affects my hearing, so I am deaf, which is very fun because it means that Rupert and I can communicate through sign language. He does speak, I speak. Obviously we both speak, he can hear perfectly fine. Although if you ask him, he'll tell you he's deaf. He is 100% sure about that. He is deaf, and you can't take that away from him. Logic and reason don't matter in this instance to him. He's deaf. But he'll tell me that he hears, he'll be like, yeah, no, oh yeah, I can hear that. He'll be like, oh, I can hear the dogs barking. Or he'll notify me if there's like an ambulance. I'm like, okay, it's an ambulance siren, huh? Thank you, deaf child. This video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp, because on this channel, mental health matters. BetterHelp is an online service. They also have an app that assesses your needs and matches you with a therapist. You're bound to find a good match, even if you're looking for a more specialised therapist. Maybe you want to exclusively speak to therapists who specialise in positive parenting, or parenting as 2 mums, or as a disabled parent. Well, it's made easy with BetterHelp, and not to worry if the therapist isn't quite right for you, because with BetterHelp, it's always okay to change your mind. I have done this. You might just be neurodiverse, because in case you didn't know, ADHD can cause indecisiveness. I did know. Thankfully, BetterHelp are here to help. BetterHelp makes me feel confident that I'm in capable hands no matter who I'm assigned, because all therapists on the platform are trained, experienced, and accredited. BetterHelp believe everyone, no matter your age, gender, sexuality, race, or disability status, should be entitled to therapy. And I couldn't agree more. One of my favourite things about BetterHelp is that it's accessible. If your disability means you can't easily leave the house to go to appointments, that's not a problem. You can have the therapy session from the comfort of your own home, or even bed. If you struggle with communication, there are also a variety of communication tools available on the BetterHelp platform, which is something I think is really excellent. Because as someone whose disability, she be changeable. Some days, I'm sorry, I cannot do the video call because the migraines are too much for me right now. But I love being able to just record how I am feeling and send it off as a voice note. That's delightful. You can record video of yourself as well, if that's what you like, if you think that will help your therapist. If you're interested in trying BetterHelp, you can head to the link in my description, betterhelp.com/Jessica Kellgren-Fozard for 10% off your first month. And this style of parenting is something that I've spoken about before. I've actually spoken about this style of parenting and why it has been so beneficial to being a disabled parent in videos before. You can kind of click the link up here to watch that. But as he's grown older and into a toddler, it is also incredibly helpful, not just because he's very sort of independent and can, I do it myself, I've got it. I do my own shoes, I put my own coat on, but also because he, in terms of like discipline and things, so for us, no is a very strong word. A lot of this style of parenting is about having trust in a child and trusting them and giving them respect. For instance, we didn't do a lot of baby proofing. We instead had a no-no system, which is like our word for don't do that. So we try not to use no very much. Instead, we only use it when it's a real, that's absolutely don't do that, because we need him to be able to listen quite quickly. I'm not necessarily going to be able to run and grab you if you are running away. So I need you to know that there is a word that will stop you immediately. So he has like the cupboard that has cleaning things in, and he knows that that is a no-no. He knows he can open any drawer or cupboard in the kitchen because he helps us to do the dishwasher and put away the dishwasher. But the no-no cupboard, that's a no. And he respects that. And a lot of it is about diverting him away from it and saying, well, you can't do this, I'm sorry, but you can go off and do that instead. And the reason that that's really helpful is because the outside world isn't baby-proofed. The outside world doesn't have a softer landing. So it was easier to make our house not have a softer landing, seemingly, although our house is obviously, like, there's nothing actually in there that he's gonna go, it's actually fine. But, psychologically, we're teaching him to not do it. If we can teach to avoid something and just trust that what we are saying is for your own safety, rather than I'm saying it just because, then he knows in the outside world, as soon as I say something, he will stop for me to give him some further instruction or for me to give him the next piece of information that he needs to stay safe. And that's really helpful because I'm not always physically capable and I can't always hear that car coming from far away. I might only be able to see it coming from a bit closer. I need you to stop immediately. Although now he tells me about the cars and gets me to stop, so that worked very well. He goes, stop, no. So yes, as a family with one disabled parent, we've found that respectful parenting, with its cornerstone of positive discipline, has for us been an invaluable tool in maintaining harmony and just nurturing our child's inner peace and nurturing our child's development. So it's not like he does bad things. Can you be bad as a child? Yes, that's also a thing. Part of Montessori is that the child is just always learning. They're teaching themselves. They are tiny scientists. They're trying to find out things about the world. They want to know what is going to happen next. They're learning the boundaries of the world. They're new here. They don't know. And as they're here, they're also developing more. Their cognition is improving. Yes, they did something 6 months ago and you taught them not to do that. They went through a biting phase, for instance. They bit a lot 6 months ago and you did the whole no bite, like kiss only. And they learned, oh, right, yeah, okay, I don't do biting, I just kiss, And they stopped doing biting. You were like, brilliant, fantastic, amazing. I have taught my child not to bite, they will never bite again. And then, nope, here we are 6 months later, and after 6 months of zero biting, they're back to doing it again. Well, their brain has developed further. Many things in their surroundings have changed. And firstly, they may not actually remember 6 months ago. There is that. But also, they need to know whether, does that still apply now? Is that the same rule? I need to find these things out. Help me, parent. Help me to learn this skill again. Help me to learn these boundaries again. So a lot of what we are talking about when it comes to discipline is not so much the you have been naughty and I am going to tell you off and here is what will happen to you in a negative way due to your actions, because that is punishment, not discipline. And that is the difference between the two. Was that a good enough example? Okay, this then has happened. The vase has broken. Let's come together and we're going to do, rather than a time out, something that's more like a time in, where you would, rather than putting them in a space like a corner or a naughty stool. Okay, if you're unable to calm yourself down, I'm going to help you calm down. And so Rupert has a quiet area upstairs that he takes himself to if he feels like he's getting very overwhelmed. And that's a place that we have always always used and have made with him, so he knows, he chooses the toys that go there and he chooses the books that are accessible in his quiet area, so he can go to it and know that this is what I can take and these are the quiet little puzzles that I can sit here and be doing these puzzles and calm myself down. And if he's in that area, we know not to go to him because that's his, I want to be alone in my quiet area, unless he specifically asks us to come with him. I swear to God, I write things down and then I talk for so long that the things I've written down should have gone far earlier. Understanding Montessori principles in parenting. Montessori education is grounded in the idea that children are natural learners who will thrive and explore things that naturally fascinate them in a carefully prepared environment, and that is how they learn best. It prioritizes independence, self-direction. It's more that I'm going to give you the space and help to form the skills within you to look for this knowledge yourself. So just as we believe in Montessori schools that children are naturally curious and capable of self-directed growth, educationally, we believe the same thing at home. He is naturally curious, that's very true. He is perfectly capable of a self-directed growth when it comes to his own person and things like learning to take care of himself or learning to manage his emotions. We allow him the time and space to really feel his emotions and then help him process them, what to do with them, rather than making sure that he is never told he is bad for having a negative feeling. Basically, that it is always okay to feel sad. It is always okay to feel angry, frustrated, to, if you want to say that you hate your friend today, sure, okay. I'm sure you do feel that way for 10 minutes, because his life does change, his emotional life does change very quickly. What is respectful parenting? Well, so respectful parenting is all about treating your child with the same respect and courtesy that you expect from them. It emphasizes the kind of open communication, empathy, and connection. You might have heard some bad things about gentle parenting, but really, you're thinking of permissive parenting, and gentle parenting is not the same thing. Neither is positive parenting, and definitely not positive discipline. So what's the difference between gentle parenting and permissive parenting? But the thing is, when most people think about gentle parenting, what you're actually thinking about is permissive parenting. The kind of someone watches their child break your thing and then doesn't do anything or say anything to their child or to you, and moves on with their day, even if they're your friend. But actually, when we're talking about gentle parenting, what we're really talking about is respectful parenting. And respectful parenting has clear, age-appropriate boundaries. Yes, there are boundaries in this parenting, don't worry. These boundaries are explained and negotiated where appropriate, because clear communication is important. I mean, negotiated probably with an older child, but still consistent and structured. And there are consequences for your actions. You're not just doing whatever you want to do. So, in summary, what are the key points of positive discipline and how can you implement it? Well, number one, setting clear expectations. You can also say setting clear boundaries if that makes more sense in your mind. I quite like expectations in some circumstances and boundaries in others. One of the cornerstones of positive discipline is setting clear expectations for your child. This means defining limits, routines, and rules. In a Montessori setting, this can be done by preparing the environment to ensure that the child can act independently while staying within predefined boundaries. The environment is set up in a way that means they will always be able to easily correct. You spill water, you know where the cloths are. They're very easy for you to reach. You can go and get them, and you can wipe up your own water spill and put them in the basket that the dirty cloths go into, even though you are 18 months old, because you know where everything is. Within our house, an expectation is that you take your shoes off when you come in. This is something that everyone does. It is something that we have always done Rupert's whole life. It just is. When he was a baby, we took his fake little baby shoes off for him, even though he didn't exactly, walk in any mud outside. But it taught him that we had that routine, even from his earliest days. And now he sits on his tiny chair and he takes his shoes off when we take our shoes off. Please insert a picture of a tiny chair. That is just an expectation. If he comes into the house holding a new sticker book and he's super excited and he runs through to his table without stopping to take his shoes off, we just say, shoes. And he knows what we mean. A boundary, to me, would be more along the lines of standing up in your chair at the table when you're meant to be sitting down to eat. because we don't ever stand up on the chairs, so we would say, Rupert, the chair's for sitting on. We sit down at the table. When he was much younger, he ate some of his meals at a low Montessori child-sized table, and then if he stood up, we would just say, Rupert, you're standing up from the table. We sit down at the table to eat. Standing up means you're finished. Are you standing up to show me you're finished? And then repeat. And if he keeps standing up, okay, then you are done. We leave the table. I mean, don't worry, he's a food lover. He didn't leave the table hungry. He was generally on his second bowl by then. Anyway, now he's older, we don't really repeat the whole thing unless he's really tired and struggling to remember. Just chairs are for sitting on, chairs are for sitting on, in a playful whoopsie tone, and he goes, oops, or oh golly gosh, because he forgot, and sits down in his chair. And yes, he does say oh golly gosh, to make fun of me. Likes copying me, unclear. 2, communicating respectfully. Positive discipline encourages parents to communicate with respect, empathy and kindness. Instead of raising our voices or resorting to threats, we aim to connect with Rupert on his level, making him feel heard and understood. I wouldn't yell at my wife, so I'm not going to yell at my toddler. I also think it's really important to acknowledge that the thoughts and feelings he struggles with are also things that adults struggle with too, especially when it comes to things like impulse control issues, which, as a person with ADHD, I definitely also deal with. Ever since he first started scribbling with a crayon in toddler way, about a year ago, we've been very clear. Crayons are for the paper. If the crayon wanders off the page again, crayons are for the paper, not the table. That generally works perfectly fine, but occasionally he's in a real scribble everywhere kind of mood and can't stop himself, so you seem to be struggling to keep your crayons on the paper. Crayons are for the paper, not the table. You can put the crayon down or hand it to me. As he's gotten older and his language and comprehension have improved, I started explaining that what he is struggling with is impulsivity, and that sometimes it is just easier to remove the temptations. So now, occasionally, he stands hovering with that crayon over something that is not paper, as that little inner voice is very clearly telling him to go for it. Ooh, ooh. And then he runs to me and he'll say, I'm struggling. And he'll give me all of his crayons or all of the things that he thinks he might want to throw. It's pretty darn adorable, actually. But I'm struggling is a really helpful tool to give your child to be able to use. 3, natural consequences versus punishments. Positive discipline advocates for natural consequences over punitive measures. When children experience the natural consequences of their actions, they are more likely to learn from them and to make better choices in the future. If he refuses to wear a coat today, even though it is raining, then cool, get wet. It's a good thing I brought your coat and a spare change of clothes in my bag, isn't it? Guess who now obsessively always wears a raincoat on the days it might be raining? Yes, the small toddler who got wet that day. It doesn't have to be bad things happening to your child though. That sounds really wrong, and it's fine, he only got slightly damp. It's really just explaining the logical consequences of things, rather than saying, just because. He saw a person's bad sunburn 6 months ago, and he now knows what sunburn looks like. So if we remind him that suntan lotion stops sunburns, he lets us put it on. This approach is about helping a child to understand the connection between their choices and their outcomes. Do you need to have a battle that's going to end in a toddler meltdown because they don't want to do something? If the thing isn't going to kill them, no, they can realize why you wanted them to do it in the first place. One part of positive discipline I really like is that it teaches children how to solve problems on their own. Encouraging them to participate in finding solutions helps develop their critical thinking and decision-making skills. I'm your parent, but I'm not with you in every moment of your life now, and I'm not going to be here forever. I want you to be able to solve an issue by yourself or de-escalate situations before they get out of hand. If I'm always doing that for you, or punishing and hoping you've learnt your lesson because you got caught, then I'm doing you no service. We're raising future adults. Rupert had a play date recently, right before nap time, and it was clear that both of the children were really excited to be with each other, but also getting quite tired and amped up in the way that toddlers do. They were making a jigsaw puzzle together on the floor, and it was a really big one, and they were like, chatter, chatter, chatter. So I stepped in and said that they were both clearly having lots of fun and enjoying each other's company, but also they seemed to have a lot of energy, and what could they do about that? So Rupert suggested that they do calm down for 10 breaths, which is the type of meditation thing he does where he just breathes very loudly for hairbrush, and then start again. And whenever they get a bit too excited, they can do more calm downs. So they kept on that way until they finished the whole puzzle, and I can't lie, it was adorable. Whenever one of them got a bit too grabby and snatchy, or a bit like, that was my piece. The other was like, calm down time. And then they both went, in conclusion, respectful parenting rooted in Montessori principles and guided by the tenets of positive discipline has been really wonderful for our family. It's helped us to create an environment where Rupert can flourish and express himself and develop essential life skills. Does it mean he's not a toddler who occasionally yells and throws things on the floor? No. It just means that afterwards he goes, I'm sorry, I'm struggling. What is positive discipline in one sentence? Techniques that teach children empathy and problem solving rather than punitive discipline measures. What's the main takeaway? Two wrongs don't make a right. You catch more flies with honey. Does upsetting a toddler because they upset you teach them not to upset people in the future? Why is that a controversial topic? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see any more videos about parenting, Montessori, our baby journey, any of that, then click the link up here. It's not a link, it's a card. It takes you to a link, which has got the playlist with all of those videos in. The link will also be down in the description because obviously, depending on the medium in which you are watching this video, you might not be able to click that card. There might not even be a card there. Thank you to BetterHelp for partnering with me on today's video. Do remember to click the link in the description. BetterHelp.com/Kellgren-Fozard. Yes, that's BetterHelp, as in H-E-L-P, like better, and then help, I've fallen down a well, and then my name. If you've liked this video, then please do click the like button because it helps with the algorithm, you know, gets the video seen by more people. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below and tell me what you would have in your quiet place if you were a toddler. What would help you calm down? My favourite things were always tiny little figures, or anything that I could pretend was a tiny figure, and then I would just make them act out whatever my drama was that I was feeling that day. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!